This is NAI Global's Diving into Commercial Real Estate.
Hey there, I'm Matt Jaffoon, co-founder of Occupier. We started Occupier in 2018 with the goal of connecting tenant reps, real estate teams, and lease accounting professionals so that you can make smarter, more informed leasing decisions for your business. Occupier helps tenants and brokers manage the entire lease life cycle in a fully secure, SOC 1 compliant online environment. Our leasing solution is optimized for team collaboration, complete transparency, and delivers unique insights into your entire deal pipeline and your clients' real estate portfolios. Check us out at occupier.com.
Welcome, everybody, to NAI Global's Diving into CRE podcast. This is our Top Producers edition, where we will be interviewing a number of top producers around the NAI Global network based on their performance in 2020. And we're kicking our series off today with Kevin Goeller, principal of NAI Global. And we're kicking our podcast series off today with Kevin Goeller, principal of NAI KLNB outside of the Washington, D.C. area. Kevin has been specializing in representing both tenants and landlords throughout the Northern Virginia region for over 30 years. His specialties are land, development, data centers, and leasing and sales. He holds the professional designations of Society of Industrial and Office Realtors and Certified Commercial Investment Members, or CCIMs, and is the past regional director for the North Virginia chapter. He is also a member of the Greater Washington Commercial Association of Realtors. Kevin, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
First, I just wanted to congratulate you on being a top producer in such a challenging time. You know, that must feel extra rewarding in some ways.
Well, it's just a product of what happens when you're in the right place at the right time.
It's probably a little bit of that, and then probably a little bit more of the way you get there, which I'm sure we'll dig into today. So maybe we could start with that and tell us, what are you currently focused on that, helped you achieve top producer status?
Well, I've been doing this for over 27 years, and I've been really focused on single-story product in the Dulles Airport region. So that covers flex industrial, land development from the ground up, but it's all pretty much predominantly the single-story product. It could even be office with a technology spin, and it's done me very well. I've been very focused on the region, very focused on the product, and it's done me very well.
That's great. And what maybe you could just dive a little bit more into, you threw out flex and industrial. I know you work in the technology sector. Tell us a little bit more focused on, what you're doing for different developers and tenants in that space, and how you are helping them through their process.
I've been blessed with a background that started in the farming industry, agriculture, and I did that for 13, 15 years in the Loudoun County region, getting to know the county government, the board of supervisors, the players in the market just through my farming activities, and wanting to give that up because it was a 24/7 job. And I was convinced by one of my landlords to get into real estate because it wouldn't take so many hours. Well, in fact, that's not necessarily true because it consumes an awful lot of your hours. However, it doesn't really consume the nights and weekends if you don't want it to. And so I got into that, and developing the relationships and continuing the relationships through the years has done me very well. It was reported that we had 3 generations of this type of zoning that is the single-story warehouse in my region. And coupling that with the government enterprise coming out of Washington, D.C., up and down the toll roads, and dealing with the infrastructure there, I just dabbled a little bit in real estate while I was running my agriculture business, and found out that it was magic when you basically invested a little bit or a lot in certain intersections or future to be intersections, and they just grew. So you can continue with the business, and intersection development seemed to be really profitable. So taking that knowledge of somewhat of the infrastructure to the next level, when I got into real estate, I did enroll in the CCIM program and became an expert in commercial, and that's all I did was commercial, very focused in commercial. And as a result, I started landing tenants, and I just happened to really enjoy the technology spin of it. So I really focused on the technology tenants, and wouldn't take no for an answer. Just really focused on these types of tenants. And when someone had that kind of tenant, I would love to just run with that tenant. I did the regular practice in my region continuously to make sure that the income was happening. But I really enjoyed the technology side of it. And that has brought us to where we are today. So through the years, it's been technology tenant representation, and now we've grown all the way to e-commerce and data centers.
And I always find it interesting. It's such a diverse group of people in terms of backgrounds that end up in commercial real estate space, and they come at it from all these different angles. It's always very interesting to me to hear that. So you mentioned that you're working in the data center space, and I know we've talked before. You've mentioned hyperscalers and some of the other technology companies that you are currently working with and developers. Can you tell us a little bit about what characteristics of properties developers look for to maybe build a data center?
Well, first off, looking at it from a higher level, you have to understand the infrastructure of the way the United States is put together. And let's start with power. So power, we have three power grids. We have the West Coast grid, we have the East Coast grid, and we have the Texas grid. Those are the three grids in America. And it's no surprise nor a shocker of what everybody has seen recently, what happened in Texas. And the reason it happened is because it is a standalone grid on its own. Like in the 1800s, Texas wasn't even a state of the United States. And as a result, you live and die by your isolation. They were doing very well. And if you are a data center operator looking at the infrastructure, just generally speaking, like I said, from a high level, you want a location on the West Coast, you want a location on the East Coast, and you want a location in Texas. Therefore, you basically build the strength and the redundancy in what your operation is. So understanding that and tying that together with the fiber development that's coming up and down what we call the toll road, which connects Dulles Airport with National Airport, so to speak. That was a government funded, it was copper originally, meaning metal, and then it has graduated and progressed into fiber. We have more fiber in this region than anywhere in the United States. So dealing with that infrastructure as well as the power, and then we can get into water, and I'm not sure how detailed you really want to get into this, but that has made the crossroads of the magic just happening. And being involved in one of actually the first data center built in my region, and then the second, and then the third, people were turning their heads and saying, what is this? And they were very surprised at what was going on. And we don't know whether we're going to put data on the moon or in satellites. Still, there was a lot of caution that it's not really a real product. And I know one of the next questions you're going to ask me is going to be how much does it cost to actually build one, because we're all over the board there. But the point is that this is a discipline that was not adopted by many. It was very, very not deep at all, very shallow. Now we look at it and it is one that is adopted by everybody. People that as soon as last year were investing in multifamily and self-storage. They're all turning their heads, and now they want to deploy capital into data center development, not knowing the first thing about it and trying to learn and be an expert at it. Because, and sorry to ramble on here, but because we are actually, I used to say we're at the fourth inning of a 9-inning game. And now with what has happened because of COVID and the emergence of Zoom and other platforms where even these technology companies can't even keep up, I'm not sure we're at the third inning yet. This could be just blowing totally out of proportion. We know that America is running businesses in the e-commerce sense more than ever before in history. And there seems to be no end to it. And they're actually redoing their business plan to fit more of that e-commerce in.
Wow, that's fascinating. And so, you mentioned that originally there was just a few players. Now there's people dabbling in the space that, maybe don't have the experience. So tell us a little bit about, what you do and how you can help somebody, looking to maybe get into the space, identifying the appropriate properties and kind of taking them through the process.
I don't know if the question is really oriented towards specifically what I am doing. I would like to not go there because, as I have said and put together meetings for NAI through the years, through the past, I would say 17 years, we had meeting rooms set aside, and then we got basically just the lunch format, et cetera. And the discipline of what you're doing in real estate cannot just be used for data, but it can be used for any discipline. I mean, if you have the focus and the plan and you live by it daily from the time you wake up in the morning and the time you go to bed, then you will develop in whatever your discipline is. In my sense right now, I'm asked this question every day. Yes, 95% of what I do is data, and there's a reason for it. But you could ask that question to someone that's in self-storage, and 95% of their business is self-storage. If you have the team, the plan, the discipline, and the focus, you do whatever you do. Just know that that's what it is. It's your plan. You can't be distracted doing everything. You have to focus on what you clearly are doing, and you live by it.
That's great advice. And so you mentioned, I think in that you mentioned that I assume you work as a team, or are you more of a solo type broker?
No, I definitely work as a team. I totally promote teams. I think that if you sit down and plan your team, what is the perfect team for you? Evaluate it and evaluate it again and revisit it, and then go out and find your team players. They may be sitting right in the desk next to you. They may be in the firm that you compete with. They may be not even into business yet. One of our team members, we pulled out of a different business. It was real estate, but it was residential estate sales. And we brought her into our team, Chase Stewart, and I don't want to say trained her our way, but she adopted to the plan right away. She's focused on the plan right away. And our team is working very well together. So my point is, at the right time, you get the right team together with the right plan, and you focus on your discipline, and you cannot do it all. You can't. No matter how much of a professional and a genius you think you are, you cannot do it all. And, 1 + 1 = 3, and 1 + 2 = 5. It's magic the way that it happens.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. Taking a step back for a second, for some of the people who are maybe younger brokers or earlier in their careers, what are your thoughts in terms of, brokerage long term? There's been some discussion that there might be some disintermediation with technology. Is brokerage something that you believe in long term?
Brokerage long term. Brokerage is here to stay forever. Everyone thinks that your job and your desk are going to be taken over by a computer. I just heard this morning on a news report that they have monkeys now that are wired that can play video games without even touching a keyboard, and their brain is actually playing the game. It's pretty amazing. But no matter how you look at this is a people-to-people business. I don't care whether it's on Zoom. I don't care if it's on telephones. If you notice that some of the senior players right now that may be listening to this podcast, one of the things that really gives them angst is the juniors that come in and their whole life is texting and emailing. Let me tell you something. That is not the magic it takes to develop the relationship. Yes, it's useful. Yes, it's a tool. But the magic that works is people to people. Pick up that phone and call John. Pick up that phone and call Jerry. That touch, that CRM base that you need, that touch is absolutely necessary. And I mentor a lot of younger kids in the business. The deal is, it's not about the money. It's about the relationship. I can give you some case studies of relationships that I built in 1992 that weren't even paying off until the last 10 years. And let me tell you, the payoff has been tremendous. And it's that relationship that you build, and it's all about the relationship. Give away stuff for free. I mean, have these conversations. Let them appraise their estate. Let them appraise their real estate. Do what you need to do as the professional in the field so that when that day comes, they call you and they trust no one else other than you. And the deals are major.
That's great. And, you touched on, just in terms of advice, discipline, planning, focus, relationships. Any other advice you would give on how to become a top producing broker to some brokers that are listening in the future, or potential brokers?
I would tell you, we haven't really talked about it, some sort of CRM, some form of that contact management platform, because you can't do everything. And when you call me, Cliff, I pull up your name and I have right in front of me the last time we talked, what we talked about, what was important to you, what your dog's name is, these silly things that develop that relationship. And that relationship is critical. And I will also say, as corny as it stands, to me, what has helped me through the years, and my own kids came up with this, is a vision board. When you get up in the morning, what is your vision board? Is it hanging in your office? And by a vision board, I mean, what do you want to extract from life, and how are you going to get there? And I know it sounds corny, but I'm telling you, the focus, again, of just a simple vision board of what you're doing with your family, or if you don't even have a family yet, where you're going to go and where you're going to travel, where you're going to meet your next girlfriend, things like that. Just that vision board, and just it all gets down to the focus that you have.
I love that. I might go put one of those up in my office. Well, Kevin, thanks for joining us today. Congratulations again on being a top producing broker. We hope to have you on next year in the same position. So hopefully you'll come back on and we'll be able to give you the award again next year.
I'm glad to be the recipient. I'm glad to be a part of NAI, and thank you for the call.
Great. And we'll throw up Kevin's information in case there's any people out there that do need to get in touch with him for potential business. So that'll be up on the site when we put the podcast up. Thanks, Kevin. Have a good one. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Welcome to NAI Global's Diving into Commercial Real Estate podcast. This is the Top Producers Edition, where we highlight the top producers from NAI around the globe. I'm your host, Cliff Moskowitz, Executive Vice President at NAI Global, and I'm joined today by top producer many times, Arie Salomon from NAI Puget Sound out of the Bellevue, Seattle, and Tacoma area. Thanks for coming on, Arie. We're glad to have you today.
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to be on this podcast.
Well, we'll see if that's how you feel by the end of it. Just for a little background, Arie Salomon joined NAI Puget Sound Properties in 1998 as a principal. As a continual top producer in his field, Arie has been recognized for his work on numerous occasions, including being named one of the 3 finalists for SIOR Industrial Broker of the Year in Washington State 11 times, with wins in 98 and 2015. He's also been honored as one of the market's top deal makers by CoStar Group several years in a row, and most recently been made NAI Global's top 10 producers worldwide list for 4 years in a row. So that's a global distinction. So thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
That gives a little bit of background about who you are, but maybe you could tell us in your own words kind of who you are and what you do.
Well, where do I start? So I was born and raised in Israel, and in 1984 I came to United States with the sole purpose of going to University of Washington, planning to get my degree in architecture and going back to Israel. That was the original plan. Moved to Seattle. I attended the University of Washington. Actually graduated. My undergraduate was in business instead of architecture, and met my wife at universities, and the rest is history. So I graduated from the University of Washington in '89, and by 1990, I started my career in commercial real estate. I was working, the first company that hired me was Noyce, Beggs and Simpson, who also was part of the NAI platform, although they did not have the affiliation in Seattle. And I remember I always was hoping that someday the Noyce, Beggs and Simpson office in Bellevue would join. So that was my first introduction to an NAI.
Wow. And when you got started, were you immediately on the brokerage side of things? And did you start with a focus on industrial real estate like you're in now, or how did that develop to get to where you're
That's
currently
a great
focused?
question. My focus in the business school was marketing and international business. And I really wanted to find a job locally in Seattle because I really love Seattle. And I remember most of the companies that came to interview on campus were from out of state, and I wanted to really stay focused in Seattle. I wanted to find a career or a profession in something that I can excel. There was no limit to the potential of earnings. And I believe that the harder I work, the more dedicated I will be, the more successful I will be. So real estate gave me the opportunity to do all those things, to be an expert in the market, to be local, and also to allow me to do both, especially in industrial, to take a raw land, develop it, design a building, build a building, be involved in constructions, then list the buildings, and then sell it. So I felt that choosing industrial, which in Seattle is mostly logistics and e-commerce, will give me the best opportunity to excel in this profession.
That was very forward thinking from back then. I'm sure, the perception, at least, of, being an industrial real estate broker has changed a lot over your career, huh?
Yeah, we've been very lucky. I'm in a market which is Seattle, which is the darling of the entire United States. This market is highly thought by institutional investors. It's always one of the top 5 industrial market in the United States, even though it's not the largest market, but it's a very active market. We have a lot of spec developments in this market. And I believe because of the topography, there are barriers to entries because of the water to the west, the mountain range on the east. So you are confined to an area that keep moving south from Seattle for development.
I know that you've earned this distinction for brokerage, but you're way beyond a broker. You're even talking just in this intro a little bit about the development and some of the advisory stuff you do for developers. Maybe you could just give us a little bit of insight into on a daily basis what roles you're actually playing in some of these projects that you're working on beyond just leasing or selling.
Yeah, Cliff, what it's important for me to mention is that what I do, I don't see myself as a salesperson. I'm not a transactional oriented broker. I see myself as a consultant, advisor, helping my clients with the vast years of experience that I have. I'm asking myself, what would I do if I were in their shoes? Or how I can make their business more efficient, how I can find a property that will fit them best for now and for the future. And having experience of almost 31 years in this business, I've seen companies that started with a 10,000 square feet size, a small shop, and grew to 100,000 square feet and multiple locations. And I was able to follow those leaders, the president of those companies, and, give them some advice in real estate and help them along the way with my experience. What I tend to do is I tend to look at the market and I'm looking at, okay, where is the next opportunity? Where is the market heading? And right now, for example, we are very lucky to be involved in several exciting projects. One of them consists of 320-acre sites on the I-5 corridors halfway between Seattle and Portland. That's the largest contiguous site that it's zoned industrial and ready for development. It is SEPA approved. And we were very lucky to attract and bring Lowe's home improvement into that site last year. And we are in the midst of a construction on 1.2 million square feet for Lowe's and are now marketing the rest of the site for other users. In addition to that site, we are working with another large real estate investment trust, the largest in the world, Prologis, on developing an 87-acre site. I call it more an infill site. We've been working on this project for over 5 years. It's an assemblage of several landowners and put the property together for future development. And we are designing a 3-building project that consists of a 1.1 million square feet. We also work now with another national developer on a 16-acre site with a project which is less than 1 mile south of SeaTac International Airport. And we are almost done with the SEPA review process by the state of Washington and plan to break ground in June of this year. Also, it's a 3-building consisting of about 310,000 square feet. So we've been very lucky to work with very good clients that would like to invest in this market. And all those buildings I'm talking about are, we're working now are development. We don't see much build to suit. We see mostly spec development. If the developer will build it, the tenant will come. And we've been very fortunate.
That's great. I mean, just to think about that, the demand is there for projects of that, size and scale is, a very positive sign for the market and for, just jobs in general in the area and kind of what's going on in your neck of the woods. So that's great. You keep using the term we. So I'm guessing that you work in a team rather than solo. Is that correct?
100%.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your team and kind of how your team is structured.
Yeah, in my opinion, the only way to succeed in this business is to be part of a team. And I think I've learned it for my early years when I was still in Israel in the military, and I learned the value of camaraderie, sharing information, working as a team approach. And I brought it here with me to the business. On my team, I require, first of all my team members to have either a CCIM or an SIOR designation. With the idea is to show the client that we are a professional, committed brokers to our profession. So I was actually able to recruit my partner, Jeff, 26 years ago, after he graduated with a law degree and went into going to real estate. And Jeff and I have been working together for over 26 years now. And we have a personal assistant, Patty Bell, that has been with us for, 20 years in the company, that she is licensed assistant. And then about 7 years ago, we brought Connor Powell to join our team. And recently, about 2 years ago, we brought one more person, Brett Mattis, who is the youngest member of the team. So, our team consists of, several brokers and, of course, personal assistant that serves and help us on a daily basis.
And also, some
long-standing members of the team and some people who are on board more recently. So it sounds like you keep growing, which is great to see.
We've been very lucky. I was very fortunate that I was able to train and mentor 8 brokers in my company over the last 25 years. And some of them are already partners in a company and are top producers. And it's great to see the success for those brokers that started as young, intern and now becoming a super broker within our company. I can tell you that our company is very unique. We have a very collaborative approach to business. We don't have any commission disputes. We have an open door policy. We share information. We work as a team, and which enable us to compete against the top brokerage firms in the market, which it's a fun atmosphere to go to work when you like the people you work with and you trust them. And I think a trust is the most important aspect of the business. You have to invest in your team members, believe that it might take years before you see the reward, but ultimately you will benefit from the relationship.
I think that's certainly some great advice right there. Taking a step away from yourself personally and kind of the things you're working on. One of the things that a lot of people in the industry are talking about now are some of the disintermediation that's going on with technology, and what is the future for commercial real estate brokerage. So I'm curious on your thoughts on what you think the long-term outlook for commercial real estate brokerage is. Will it still be kind of what it has been and what it is today, or will it have undergo some sort of change with the technology that's out there now?
It's interesting, because I started this career 31 years ago, and I remember at that time, the largest companies, the national and international companies, were getting the majority share of the business because of their size and their footprint, both in the United States and abroad. And because of technologies and it allowed smaller companies, entrepreneurial companies, to become much more competitive because they were able to provide the same or gain access to the same information that previously only the large, big real estate firms had. And then the thought was, wow, technology will replace the brokers and there is no need for a broker because you can get everything online. And you cannot replace experience. You cannot replace knowledge with technology. The client choose to work with you because of the trust they put in you, because of the advice that you give them. When you look at data or you look at technology, you cannot gain advice. You can see numbers and facts, but somebody has to make determinations and give you the trends and help you navigate the market. So we embrace technology. That's the strongest suit for Jeff. Jeff is very good with technology, and we learn to adapt technology into our business. But, I don't think you can replace the actual face-to-face meeting with the client and the extensive knowledge that you gain that you can help him make the right decision, him or her.
Yeah, so it sounds like embracing the technology and having the ability to analyze the data is what, in conjunction with an advisor, is what you think would be the best outcome in the future going forward.
Yeah, correct. You need to be creative. I think the success for this business is the creativity aspect. Everybody can show a space, and everybody can take a client in a car and show them 4 buildings. But to be creative, to find a solution that other brokers cannot, that's where you gain an edge over your competitor.
You know, you've given us a lot of nuggets here throughout the discussion. I think the last question I have is there any additional advice, you know, that you would give maybe a younger broker or somebody trying to take their career to the next level on how they can eventually become a top producing broker like yourself?
Wow. The way I see it is, first of all, he or she needs to love the business. It's not a job, it's a career, it's a profession. And it's not a 9 to 5 type of a job. I don't want to say it's 24/7 because you have a family, but it's hard not to think about work after you come home or over the weekend or at night to come up with solutions. So you need to really love what you do because you will spend a lot of time in the office or at this profession. Second, you need to be competitive. You wanted to compete with yourself and become better. You want to continue to advance your knowledge, take as many classes as you can in the business so you can differentiate yourself with the average broker. And then you have to put commission aside. Commission is a byproduct of the work that you do for the client. If you do the best job for the client, you will be compensated in the future. And the client knows when he works with a broker that cares about the commission, or he works with a broker that really cares about the outcome of the transaction. And the third thing is team up with people, learn from somebody, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, I still, after 30 years, still ask questions. I can still learn today from other brokers and other mentors. So continue to develop and expand your knowledge because it's going to make you a better broker.
All great foundations for success. Arie, Salomon, NAI Puget Sound, thank you so much for joining us today. We expect to talk to you again next year when I'm sure you will be a top producing broker around the NAI global system again.
Well, you have a great afternoon and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.